The Palestinians are genuinely descendants of the Philistines, or perhaps they come from the lineage of Ishmael, son of Abraham with Hagar. Many things are said about the Palestinians. Now, amid the conflict with Israel, that makes us wonder why, being so close, there is no peace between them. But what is the truth? Perhaps it has to do with their origins. Come with me to reveal this story and discover who the Palestinians are and their mysterious origin, according to the Bible. Stay until the end to discover it in the heart of the biblical narrative. Genesis chapter 16 verses 10 to 12 tells us, the angel of the Lord said to her, I would also multiply your descendants so much that they cannot be counted. The angel of the Lord added, Look, you are pregnant and will give birth to a son whom you will call Ishmael, because the Lord has heard your affliction. He will be a savage man, his hand against everyone and the hand of everyone against him. He will live in confrontation with all his brothers. Let's begin with the population. Palestine has a rich mix of ancestry. Beyond its evident Arab roots and its predominant Islamic faith, a notable number of Palestinians retain a Jewish genetic legacy inherited from former Jewish converts to Islam. In the 6th and 7th centuries, researchers have exhaustively studied these ethnic origins, analyzing both the linguistics and genetics of the national group residing in the south. It is also crucial to understand how nationalist ideologies have woven numerous myths around this population, influencing our perception of its history. It is essential to know that the Palestinian population, despite being predominantly Arab and Muslim, is not homogeneous. It encompasses an impressive diversity that extends from religious practices and languages to varied cultures and ethnic groups. Countless historical events and migrations have sculpted this complex demographic history. And the hand of various empires throughout the centuries. Likewise, wars, uprisings, and religious changes have played crucial roles in shaping migration and conversions in the Palestinian region. For example, after the Muslim conquest of the Levant in the 6th century, the region was immersed in intense processes of Arabization and Islamization. This was a result of local conversion and assimilation intensified by the continued Muslim presence. All of these factors culminated in the formation of an Arab-Muslim community whose numbers were initially much smaller than the total population of the region at that time. In the middle to early 20th century, the Arab-Muslim population emerged as the dominant religious group in the region. Many Palestinian villages and prominent families trace their lineages to various clans known collectively as Hamula, composed of nomadic Arab tribes from the Arabian Peninsula. These clans settled in the region both before and after the Islamic conquest. In addition, a select group of Palestinian families preserves rich oral traditions that demonstrate their ancestral Jewish and Samaritan roots. The continuous efforts to forge a Palestinian national identity is destined to consolidate itself as the primary basis of identity compared to other common ones among the Palestinians, as the local tribal and Islamic clans have deeply marked the internal history of Palestine. By exploring the complex demographic history of Palestine, it is clear that it has been profoundly shaped by a series of historical events and migrations through the centuries. In the Age of Bronze, the region was primarily the home of the Canaanites, a people whose language was Phoenician. In the early Iron Age, the Israelites distinguished themselves as a unique ethnic and religious group, contrasting with the autochthonous Canaanites. The Israelites, also known as Hebrews with deep Semitic roots, established the influential kingdoms of Israel and Judah. The conquest of these kingdoms by the Assyrians and Babylonians precipitated a painful forced exile to the east. Later, during classical antiquity, the region came under the rule of the Achaemenid and Seleucid empires. Eventually, Jews became the majority of the population in Palestine. Enjoying a brief period of independence under the Asmonean dynasty, however, this period of autonomy ended when the region was incorporated under Roman rule. Specifically, the war's Jewish-Roman events such as the Bar Kokhba revolt unleashed death, displacement and slavery among the Jews, causing a drastic decline in their population in Judea. In the following centuries, during political and economic turbulence, there were numerous conversions to emerging Christianity and persecutions of religious minorities. As a result, under Byzantine rule, a Christian majority was consolidated, driven by both Christian immigration and the exodus of Jews. In addition, this era was characterized by conflicts such as the Samaritan uprisings and massive conversions of the local population. Finally, in the 6th century, after adopting Islam, the Arabs conquered the Levant. In subsequent centuries, Muslim dynasties such as the Umayyad, Abbasids, and Fatimids dominated the region. Over the centuries, the population of Palestine experienced a dramatic decline from almost 1 million in Roman and Byzantine times to only about 300,000 inhabitants. At the beginning of the Ottoman era, a vast majority of this population gradually embraced Islam, assimilating the Arabic culture and language. It is considered that the Arab influence present before and after the Muslim conquest was a crucial catalyst in the accelerated process of Islamization of the region. It is notable that a significant fraction of the inhabitants of Nablus in Palestine descend from Samaritans who embraced Islam. It should be noted that the Samaritans descended from certain Israelite tribes also shared Assyrian origins, thus uniting two ancient Semitic roots remains shrouded in mysteries, and the conversion to Islam in Palestine had place before or after the Crusades. According to some scholars, Palestine could have been predominantly Muslim already at the time of the arrival of the Crusaders. However, others argue that the mass Islamization of Palestine was consolidated later during the Mamluk period. This Mamluk period describes the rule of a dynasty of military leaders, especially in Egypt and Syria. Initially, the Mamluks were slave soldiers who rose to become powerful rulers of Islamic states between the 13th and 14th centuries. Although there were several Mamluk periods throughout the Muslim world, the most renowned and enduring was the Mamluk Empire in Egypt during the 10th century. In Egypt, the Mamluks founded their government, which was known as the Saladin Mamluk Sultanate. The most famous of the Mamluk leaders reconquered Jerusalem from the Crusaders in 1187, inaugurating a dynasty that would last for centuries. Mamluk rule in Egypt ended in 1517 when Sultan Selim of the Ottoman Empire conquered Egypt. Although absorbed by the Ottoman system, the Mamluks managed to maintain a certain local autonomy throughout their history. The demographic composition of Palestine has been shaped by diverse and significant waves of migration among these movements, and migration stands out. Egyptian under Muhammad Ali and Ibrahim Pasha, and the arrival of Algerians after the Abu Khedr uprising during the 16th and 10th centuries. Later, in the second half of the 19th century, migrations of Indo-European peoples such as Bosnians, Slavs, and Circassians were added, further enriching the region's diversity. Already in the 10th century, the population of Palestine had decreased, stabilizing between 150,000 and 250,000 people under prolonged Ottoman rule, focusing on the origins. Although Palestinian culture is predominantly today, many Palestinians still identify with the ancestral civilizations they inhabited. This land, throughout history in the Ottoman era, the Palestinians saw themselves as descendants of both the Arab conquerors of the 7th century as with the ancestral indigenous communities. An anthropological study reveals that various ethnic groups have called Palestine home over the centuries, deeply rooting their heritage in this region. This mosaic began with the Canaanites and was followed by the Philistines. Later, the region welcomed Israelites, Hebrews, and Arabs who had descended from Esau, brother of Jacob. In addition, the Ismaelis descended from Ishmael and formed this Arab branch. Arameans descended from Aram, and Arabs from Midian joined this diversity, enriching the cultural and ethnic heritage of Palestine. Reality fully supports this study. Today's Palestinians possess a remarkably diverse heritage that includes Edomite, Canaanite, and Philistine. Jewish traits disprove the theory that they descend exclusively from Ishmael. Over the centuries, these groups intertwined, weaving the rich cultural tapestry that characterizes the Palestinian people today. Is clear that the Palestinian people, in their appearance and genetics, reflect predominantly Semitic origins, are evidenced in their diversity, including both Arabs and Palestinian Jews. Recent genetic studies have revealed that the Ethnic divisions between Jews and Palestinians in terms of paternal origin are closely related. These analyses demonstrate surprisingly Jews and Palestinians are genetically closer to each other than Jews are to other world populations. Curiously, the Palestinians evaluated in these studies showed an ethical proximity to Jordanian Bedouins and Saudi Arabs, pointing to a common origin on the Arabian Peninsula. This mixture of populations over time has played a crucial role in the genetic similarities today. In fact, for millennia, historical texts have proclaimed that Arabs and Jews are not distant peoples, but indeed brothers. Modern genetic studies continue to reinforce this claim by demonstrating the connections, big differences between these communities. Interestingly, a DNA study led by Nabel revealed a remarkable genetic overlap between Arab, Jewish, Israelis, and Palestinians. Nabel suggested that many of today's Muslim Palestinians may descend from the primarily Jewish local inhabitants who converted to Islam after the conquest in the 6th century. In other words, the current Palestinians come from a rich mix of ancestors, including Aramaic Jews, Ismailis from the tribe of Nebet Canaanites and Philistines, although much has been speculated about the Philistines as the fathers of Palestine. This, in reality, it is due to the geographical location they shared, as they lived in the southwestern region of Canaan near the Mediterranean coast in what is now part of Israel and the Gaza Strip. Adding that in the biblical narrative, the Philistines are frequently portrayed as adversaries of the Israelites. This genetic diversity reflects the complex history of the region. In addition, there has been a growing interest in Middle Eastern events and biblical prophecies, particularly those that mention Gog and Magog. In our following videos, we will delve into these fascinating events and analyze whether the figures of Gog and Magog are emerging in the current panorama. I invite you to watch our old videos containing biblical topics that a few are talking about. I'm sure you will like it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate notifications to avoid missing our following videos. May God bless you greatly.